Hit it.
Meet me at the intersection. It's time to make a great connection. Faith, fun, and family meet. So come on in and take a seat. It's Sundays at the intersection. Woo!
Welcome to Sundays at the Intersection. We're delighted to be spending this time with you. We're going to be learning about Jesus' parables. So take a look and enjoy.
What's on the menu?
Everybody loves stories, right? Well, Jesus did too. He used short, simple stories to teach unexpected lessons. These are called parables. Now, although they are simple stories, their messages are not. They end up carrying surprising meaning and some great wisdom. Just because these stories have a lighter tone doesn't mean these stories are any less serious or less important than other stories in the Bible. In fact, the importance of the messages found in the parables was the exact reason that Jesus chose to communicate them in that way. The messages were like hidden treasures in the midst of these beautiful old stories. Our hope is that when you look into these parables with us, you'll also find the hidden treasures that help us live out the great love of God. Parables pack a powerful punch.
The main course.
The first parable we're going to talk about is the parable of the workers in the vineyard.
Woo!
It's found in Matthew 20, verses 1 through 16.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't one of the most common parables, so we're kind of starting off with the bang. Our parable series.
Because they have big brains.
I know.
Our viewers, our kids, they have big brains.
They can totally handle
Yes,
this. So
totally
Lisa, blow our minds with this cool parable that definitely has some surprises that we talked about earlier.
Now,
So,
I'm not
hi.
necessarily going to blow your mind because Jesus blows my mind with how good he was at telling these stories. So he starts off many of his parables, okay, and he says, for the kingdom of heaven is like, and he goes on, he tells a story. And this has some main characters. It has the landowner.
Okay.
And then it has workers who show up in the morning, okay? So when the first workers show up in the morning, he agrees with them, here's how much I'll pay you for the day. It was called 1 denarius, okay? And he said, I'll pay you that. They said, great, they went. Well, a few hours later, he came back and it says there were some other people just sort of standing around. And he was like, do you need work? They said, yes. So he said, great, you can start working 3 hours later. Then he came back and there were some more people. So throughout the day, later and later in the day, he sent people to work in the vineyard. I mean, there's just a lot of work to do. Well, they get to the end of the day and the workers all finish at the same time and they come back to get their pay. And the landowner pays them all the same, 1 denarius for the day.
Wait a minute. Even though some worked a lot longer than the others?
Oh, yes. So you can imagine the people who started working at the very beginning of the day, they complained to the landowner. They're like, hey, what? That's not fair. What?
We should have gotten more.
Yeah,
we
we
got more
did.
money than them. We worked longer.
That's right. And the landowner said, why are you complaining? I paid you exactly what I told you I would pay you. You agreed to that. You knew it. And why are you upset that I'm being more generous with these people? Is that for you to say? It's my money. I can be generous. And then Jesus says one of the most famous things. He says, and that is how the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Now, you guys.
Still doesn't seem fair. Lisa.
It does. I know it doesn't seem fair. And that's why when I taught this to my high school and college students, you know, they have big brains too. And they said, okay, Lisa, they said, we know there's a hidden meaning. There's some hidden treasure in there. But when I first hear this, I'd be mad too if someone who came in the last minute got paid the same amount I did. It just doesn't seem fair. And this is where Jesus packs a powerful punch in this parable. Do you remember what I said at the very beginning of the parable? Do you remember? About the kingdom of heaven?
No.
It said, for the kingdom of heaven is like. And so that tells you that this whole story is about faith and about what heaven is like and that's what this is talking about. And Jesus in this beautiful story that has to do with vineyards, and this isn't
See,
the vineyard,
we're in the
but
fields.
We're in the fields, but I don't think there were owls in the vineyard. But
There are in our vineyard.
But they were, yeah. So the example is that God's grace is for everyone. And some people will choose to follow him when they're 2 years old. Some people won't choose to follow him until they're
52.
82 years old, or
Or
50,
52.
or 52. It's closer to right here.
Okay.
Anyway, his point is his grace is for everyone, whether it's the beginning of their life or at the end.
I love it.
And it's great news, right? But some of us tend to resent that sometimes. Sometimes I think when we say it's not fair, I think sometimes we may not mean to, but we sort of live for God hoping that we get extra credit because we're living for him better. But if you remember when Jesus hung on the cross a few years later after he told this story, that robber who knew who he was, he gave grace to that robber. And that robber on the cross next to him did not even have any time in his life to improve or make better decisions. Grace is undeserved favor and a great gift for us. And that is what this parable was about. It may not seem fair, but thank goodness God isn't always fair. He gives us amazing, undeserved grace.
Wow.
It's good stuff. I told you there was a twist.
Yes, definite hidden meanings. That's really, really cool. Like
Yeah.
we said at the beginning, parables pack
a powerful punch.
Dessert.
Yum.
Hit it.
Meet me at the intersection. It's time to make a great connection. Faith, fun, and family meets. So come on in and take a seat. It's Sundays at the intersection. Woo!